It's Stevivor's Friendly Fire Show, episode 258 for the midpoint, the almost Christmas of it all of December 2023. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steve Wright. Joining me is Ben Salter. If you're not new to this, if you are new to this, in fact, rather, this is our long-running video games podcast with an Australian slant, and we're hilarious, or so we think.
That's it.
Yeah.
258 episodes. Look at us keep going. Another year nearly done. We're not done, actually. We're going to be back for one more episode this year. So it's not goodbye. It's just happy Christmas, nearly.
See you after the holiday season, and hopefully we're not too hungover to continue, or stuffed with turkey. I don't know. Like you've just had a whole bunch of body changing, wedding inspired, healthy living, cutting back on the alcohol, on the exercise. Oh,
the blowout's on. So it's Christmas. It's gonna be a disaster. No, wait, it'll be fine. People always overplay Christmas, and it's a big deal, and all this drama happens. It's fine. It's one day. Although we've already had one Christmas. We've had one family Christmas like 2 weeks ago, which that felt too early. But I get it. Schedules are hard to coordinate.
Yeah, for us, it's not about Christmas so much as like we need to, like, the end of the year is happening. We need to catch up with everyone we've ever met in the history of our lives. Like, I don't understand why it's so important to do so, but we've been just like every night just continually going at it. Randomly, weirdly, after hockey on Monday night, on Tuesday morning, it was like, it's Wednesday when we're recording this. It's coming out Wednesday. It was like supposed to be 35 degrees and like super humid, and at 9 o'clock I'm like, I should go for a run. I'll get a quick one out.
Crazy.
It's not too warm. And like I swear I could not stop sweating after the run for like 3 hours. I had to like change 2 t-shirts and just put them in the wash because like I literally soaked through them. And I'm like, this isn't normal. And I wasn't sure if it was humidity or if I was like starting to get sick or something. And then a guy that I play hockey with texted the group and said, oh, by the way, I have COVID. So I'm like, that's it. I've got COVID. Nope. It was just the humidity. And then I felt weird all day because I was probably like perspiring so much. I was dehydrated, and I don't know. And you probably can hear rain in the background. Like, it's the apocalypse in Melbourne. I don't know if it's been the same in Adelaide, but like there was such a lightning and thunderstorm last night. It went on for like 45 minutes, and I've never seen the sky so continually lit up with like just lightning bolts and stuff. And it feels like we're in some sort of tropical country because it's just like sticky, gross humidity. So I don't know, is it like that in Adelaide or what?
Just passed. We had like a 5-day storm. We had thunderstorms for 5 days in a row. Like power outages, massive thunder in the like kind of expected at night, but during the day as well. Like, it was weird. Dogs going crazy. It felt like kind of like a horror movie where it was very much like, well, this is the end of time. Something bad's about to go down. It's like dark at 2 p.m. Like, it was weird for December as well. But we're past that. The good news is the power didn't go out on the weekend. So like my backlog of gaming that I pushed through, because we couldn't go outside because you'd just get like drowned basically. So it was like a weekend inside.
Nice.
And I got through some stuff. Like I managed to, I got through your favorite game of all time, Alan Wake, but we can chat more about that in a future episode.
Well, just in time to finish and play again immediately to do the final draft. But I digress. Yes, that's next week.
I don't play games twice. What else did I get through? I got through the DLC for Resident Evil 4, which I normally don't play DLC, but that's good stuff. It's like 5 hours. It's longer than Resident Evil 3, the full game.
And
so that's a good deal.
It's a great piece of DLC.
Good. Spider-Man 2, I think I promised on this podcast or said that I would get the platinum, and I did. So that's good stuff. Like, just ticking off the backlog. That's good. And the power stayed on just long enough for me to do that.
Well done. I had a chance to check out some of our indie game contenders because the Game Award, we'll get to the Game Awards itself. That's already happened, but the Stevivor Game of the Year literally is like 2 or 3 days underway, and we're going to kind of go all the way through until the end of the year. We'll talk about that next time. We're going to have a little break over Christmas, but then we'll be back in your ear holes before the end of the new year, or the end of the current year before the new year, and then we'll talk about all of our Game of the Awards. Game of the Awards stuff. Yeah. I'm ready for 2023 to be finished and just hibernate for a minute or 2 or 12.
Yeah. Well, the big ones happened. The Game Awards happened, so it was apparently a shorter show this year, but it was still 3.5 hours, including the pre-show, which so normally I've been busy and I haven't been able to watch it, but this year I was able to have it on in the background. So the first time I properly kind of watched it, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the pre-show was not the show because they were giving out awards. So that's the show. So you can't just say it's not that long because that's the pre-show. Like it's all show. There was trailers and awards given out then. We should tick off first. Stevivor is a judge. Maybe you want to cover quickly what that means in the Game Awards.
It means we were a member of the voting jury, one of like four, I think, in Australia now, alongside, well, not alongside Oz Gamers. I think they're now defunct, and good luck for third phase boss Steve and Costa. But alongside Press Start, who's the other one? Oh, maybe it's his three. Skill Up.
I thought it was three.
Yeah. Oh, and Games Hub. They're the fourth judge. So from other outlets around the world, we get to vote. We get a 90% slant on the voting categories. We didn't get to vote for everything. Like, I don't think we... Oh, maybe we did, actually. Sometimes we don't have to vote for like, the esports things, or maybe we just choose not to.
We choose not to.
Yeah, because we don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, so the public got to vote as well on some of the categories, if not all, and you get that counted towards 10% of the vote. That doesn't really mean a lot. Like, you know, our journalistic standards and integrity still stand, so like no one offered us trips or limo rides or something to consider voting for their game. They could offer, or they being the publishers, from any game that was made this year, could offer to send us codes to check it out so we could be informed to vote. But we independently nominated and then voted for what turned up on the day. Is that a good explanation?
Yeah, that's it. Got it.
All right.
And so with that in mind, we can still be critical of the awards. And we don't get too bogged down in this, but I think it's been building over the last few years that this has become too much of a marketing show and not enough of an awards show. And it kind of went next level that this year. And got a lot of criticism for it. So it'll probably change next year. Having said that, I don't want the marketing stuff to end. Like we've just had officially today, E3 is definitely not coming back. So this is kind of the closest thing we have to that vibe now, like some unexpected announcement drops with a big live audience. There's not really a direct replacement. And there are other game awards around the world, which you probably have no idea even happen, because who just watches an award show?
Yeah.
Like it's not going to have a bunch of musical performances like a music award. It's not going to have whatever's like Ricky Gervais pulling out gags all the time. Like it needs something for people to watch, and that's game announcements. So
yep.
I think they have a good formula. The idea of we're going to give our awards for this year and we're going to announce stuff coming up soon is a good combo. They've just gone way too far in the marketing side of it. I think someone actually went through and watched it, and they had like of a 3.5 hour show, there was something like 10 minutes plus 5 more minutes in the pre-show of winner speeches. And I can kind of accept that they're really short, but they don't even give every award a chance to speak. Like they give, like a weird one was Action Adventure got a chance to speak. Nintendo went up for Zelda, and then they just blasted through like 5 more awards, being like Baldur's Gate won Best RPG, something else won something else. No even chance for them to clap. And I feel like if you're going to have everyone gets 30 seconds, like that is really short, but everyone should get that. Like everyone should probably get like 90 seconds or something, but like just be consistent at least.
Yeah. Well, and like the Oscars has awards for like technical prowess and like making a camera spin or something, and like they have a pre-award show for those kind of awards, but like they still have an award show that maybe isn't televised, that people still get to go and accept awards and like get recognition. And that didn't happen for like a large chunk of these awards. It was like literally Jeff or what's her name, Sydney or Stacy, turning to camera and just being like as fast as they could, rattling off like the names of the games, the winner, and then congratulations turn 10 or whoever won, and then just like immediately on to the next one. They didn't even like cut the camera to like people sitting in the audience who could like wave or like show any like joy over winning the award. I agree. I watched this for really the first time properly, giving it all my attention, because I'm usually not able to. It's that kind of Summer Game Fest style Jeff Keighley spectacle that we all kind of expect, and that publishers are using to launch announcements and all their marketing. the problem that I have with it is that it's kind of like the Jeff Keighley wish fulfillment show. Like, I don't need a segment with the Muppets because they have nothing to do with video games. Like, that's probably like 5 or 10 minutes that now we've clawed back. I don't need the Hideo Kojima is so amazing spotlight hour that is in literally every Game Awards, especially for OD. Like, it was kind of cool, but we don't need like doors opening and Kojima and Jordan Peele like coming out and talking like just about nothing, because we know nothing about OD despite all the time that was spent on this game. It's like that kind of stuff is what annoys me. Like, when like Simu Liu came out and talked about his foot for 2-3 minutes. Like, that's not even about a video game. Like, let's give time back. Poor Sam Lake. Like, I want to hear what he has to say about Alan Wake, and I didn't get to. The guys from Larian, you know, like talking about inclusivity and diversity, like just really important messages. You know, like they're getting played off the stage as they start trying to talk about these things. It was really, it was noticeable. Even if like you weren't looking at that kind of thing like we would be, I think anyone watching this awards show, air quotes, would think like, are there awards in this? Like, it just kept going at such a weird, blistering pace. And like, to that point, like, I think everyone kind of knew that this was going to be a contest between Alan Wake and Baldur's Gate for Game of the Year. And it was probably like 20 minutes, I think, before the award came up, and you and I were talking, and like, well, it's definitely Baldur's Gate, because it's won so many other awards, but they've not given Larian like a second of airtime yet. So it makes no sense for them to not win Game of the Year and not be able to say a thing when they've won like 4 or 5 or however many awards they did. Like, it took all the suspense like right out of the situation.
Yeah, so I think it was pretty clear to me that all the winners knew they were going to win ahead of time. Acting like they didn't. Maybe Larian didn't know they'd won Game of the Year. They're the only ones that kind of vibed that maybe it was a surprise or they weren't certain. The others seem to. I still don't.
But they did, because they meant they were going to announce the Xbox release and they forgot. Like...
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, overall, I think they could just tweak it slightly. The formula is actually right. Like, it's what you need to have people have interest in this, and heaps of people watch. So they've got that right. They just need to cut back maybe a little bit on the amount of advertising in it to buy some time to announce, to give all the winners a chance to talk, and to buy some even more time is reduce the fluff beforehand. So the Muppet stuff, developers chatting on stage, the foot guy, all that stuff can be cut. In fact, I would have no celebrity cameos. Like, that's what they do at like the Oscars and things. But if you're going to have game announcements instead, let them be that. And then cut out the fluff. Just have hosts announcing all the awards. And it doesn't have to be Jeff all the time. You could have like 3 or 4 people hosting if you want to get some more people on stage. But just have them go out, announce the award, no little spiel beforehand, and then let the people speak and allow everyone in the show to accept their award.
Yeah. So
if you've got some things like, I don't know, best mobile esports or something, have them in the pre-show with no acceptance. Like, that's what the difference could be. Because like the Doug Bowser from Nintendo accepted an award during the pre-show.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what? There's no difference. Like, if the pre-show is where they put here's the ones we're just going to burn through and there's no announcements, or it's video announcements, like video winners only in the pre-show. Like, cool. There's a clear divide. Then it makes sense. Yeah. So I think it just needs to move the needle a little bit, because it's entertaining. Like, they've got the right idea to drive interest in this. They went a little bit too far this year.
Yeah. There's a weird sense of that. Like, even, you know, like that, I think Wonder won Family Game of the Year, and it was like, you know, presented by Sydney or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't know her name. Not Jeff Keighley. So it was kind of like already like, ooh, it's basically the award show, but it's beneath Jeff Keighley to do. And then like poor Doug Bowser got up and like he needs 7 million hours more media training. It was just like awkward all around. And you're like, oh, okay, this is they're into the awards. And then the rest of them for the pre-show, I think, were all just like rattling off 4 or 5 and congratulations, off-camera person. Like the Oscars, I keep going back to that. Like, it's a celebrity show. Like, anyone who's gonna give it an award out is a celebrity, just because of the nature of what they do. Like, that's cool. That's still able to be happening within the Game Awards, but limit those people to 30 seconds. Don't just give them carte blanche to, oh, hey, like, my foot hurts. Oh, like, this is cool. What's going on? Like, it just, like, stick them to a very strict script and like a big sign that they're looking at on the prompter saying like, hurry up, you're going too slow. Like that's the kind of thing you cut back in my mind.
So as an awards show, which is really more of a marketing show, they did make some pretty big announcements, but they as you kind of already alluded to, they already fluffed the big one, which is Game of the Year has been announced. The creative director from Larry and Baldur's Gate 3 said later, he basically tweeted or X'd out, sorry, I only had one job, which was to get up there and announce that Baldur's Gate 3 is out now. Like Shadow dropped on Xbox, which we kind of guessed would happen. We were hoping it would be on Game Pass as well. That didn't eventuate. I don't think Phil was even there to announce such a thing, so that's a little disappointing. But yeah, he just kind of forgot, and that was a little surprising because I thought it was just going to be on the prompter. Like it was so like they knew they had won. He did go into some pretty detailed stuff about paying respect to the people who died who worked on this game, and that's when they started being played off. And there's a photo of him on stage where you can see the prompter because they're massive. If you've never been to an award show like this or an E3. They're not little ones on stage. They're massive actually behind the audience. So whenever we've been to an E3, if we wanted to, you can actually read what the announcement's about to be before it gets announced because the prompter's so massive.
But then you might not see Keanu Reeves coming out of like a wall of mist. So
that's it. And so, there's the photo where you can easily read the please wrap it up when he's barely started his speech. So I can see why he forgot. I'm sure Xbox weren't that happy about it because it was clearly set up for that's how they were going to do it, but they all just kind of tweeted out like it's available now. Like news got around pretty quick.
And there was like a weird Baldur's Gate 3 ad that had like the Xbox packaging and like box art and stuff like as part of the thing. So like you knew it was gonna we also knew it was coming out on Xbox. Like it's not like that wasn't a secret, but like it kind of just got flubbed. And the weird I also knew that Alan Wake 2 didn't win Game of the Year because when they won Best Narrative or Direction, whichever one was last, that's when Sam Lake said, oh, and by the way, like the final cut's coming out on the 11th of December. So it's like, oh, well, like that's their big announcement. And it's like he said it. So like he's not saving that for Game of the Year. So like that to me, with like never seeing Baldur's Gate, except for I think the guy who won Best Performance was Baldur's Gate 3, but like no one from Larian ever took to the stage until Game of the Year. So it's like, well, okay, like they're gonna take to the stage and they're gonna announce Xbox, and then they forgot to announce Xbox, but like that's what was supposed to happen.
And that's the thing with the awards they have. It often largely everything normally has 5 or 6 nominees, and it's pretty much from the same pool of 10 games across all the categories. So it's a bit too easy to telegraph some stuff. Bigger news, God of War Ragnarok is getting free DLC this week. That's kind of cool. There's not quite a shadow drop, but a free DLC is coming. I think that was one of the bigger news items that kind of popped out immediately and wasn't leaked or anything.
No, kind of weird though, because it's like a rogue-like, and that's exactly what the kind of addition to The Last of Us Part 2 is in a month from now, which kind of got leaked earlier than was intended. So like it's weird if Sony was going to kind of announce 2 of the same at the Game Awards, which I guess presumably that's what was going to happen, and one was paid DLC and one was like a $10 or $15 in Australia edition if you've upgraded from the PS4 version. But it's still cool nonetheless. Like free, who says no to free DLC? I'm not poo-pooing that.
Basically you've already said Alan Wake 2 already announced they announced their upcoming.
It's out. Final draft.
It's out.
Yeah.
It's out. Yeah, because we're it's miles ago, this award ceremony. I keep thinking it was a day ago, but it was like a few days ago now, nearly a week ago. There was a new Monster Hunter announced. I think that kind of skimmed past both of us, but that was the big final announcement.
Yeah. It didn't skim past me. I just don't care about Monster Hunter.
No, I don't think, But it's a big deal. A lot of people love that. I thought the Sega announcement was more impressive because they kind of did like a 90-second sizzle reel trailer about, look, we're bringing back 5 pretty classic old school franchises. Now, I'm going to assume these are going to be what once would have been like Xbox Live Arcade level, so not full release games. But they all look pretty cool. Like, I think like Crazy Taxi is just a fun game, so I'm keen for a new version of that.
Yeah. And
that's Ancient, the one that's out. Same with Jet Set Radio. The others I'm less familiar with, but like Golden Axe is relatively Mega Drive era if you were into that type of thing. So
it's Golden Axe was like after hockey at the arcade, because I'm so much older than you. Like that was the arcade game at the time, like that and like Ninja Turtles. That's what we played after hockey.
There you go.
And like blink and you miss it in that 90-second thing. Like there was either like, and we don't know. It seems like it's pretty early on. Either concepts of what the new stuff's going to look like, or just straight up what the new stuff is. And like concept or actual, they look pretty cool. Like even all of like the look of Shinobi looked like, I've not really played a Shinobi game, but it looked cool and stylized. I'm most excited about Jet Set Radio because like I just love Jet Set Radio. So, hurrah!
And I think that type of announcement is the slot which the Game Awards can now fill without your E3 type of thing. Because if this just got announced via a press release or through a tweet or something, it would get a bit more lost. Like I think that everyone watching live, seeing this thing happen and kind of being like, oh, hang on a second, it's not Crazy Taxi, it's not Jet Set Radio, it's 5 games being announced, which is very E3 live stream style. And the fact that none of these were known about, it's all kind of new, and they didn't show much. It was just enough to tease it, so it didn't drag on forever. It wasn't, here's an ad for a game we've been playing for years. It wasn't something we'd already seen before. It was, just very different. And I think that's the perfect kind of time to announce something like that.
And going back to what we were talking about way before, like, I think now all these publishers have kind of gone from, like, the evolution of what an announcement used to be at, like, E3 to like, a Nintendo Direct or whatever Xbox is calling Direct or a PlayStation State of Play. So it's, like, less filler, more trailer, more teaser. Like, if we're not ready to talk about something, we drop the, like, 2 lines that we have and then we walk away. And, like, Kojima announcing OD was cool, and, like, I literally thought that trailer was just, like, the actors being filmed. That's, like, Unreal Engine 5 and that crazy tech. Like, that's in-game. That's insane. But, like, that trailer, Hideo Kojima, Xbox, like, from the mind of Hideo Kojima, and, like, wait a beat and then go end Jordan Peele. Like, that's literally all the trailer had to do, and that's all that the Game Awards gave us, even though Jordan Peele then came out on stage and talked for, like, 10 minutes about literally nothing. So, like, let's take that experience and just squeeze it into concentrate and, like, have the same effect but in far less time.
Room to move and improve. I think we've covered the award winners. So Baldur's Gate 3, I think we had a pretty fair idea that either that or Alan Wake 2 were going to win. And yeah, as you said, with half an hour to go in the awards, we knew that was going to win. I haven't really played it, but I will give it a go before the next episode, and we'll kind of see what we can kind of get out of it. I'm thinking it's probably not a game that either of us would normally play often. Doesn't mean we wouldn't appreciate it, though. So I can often appreciate these type of games, even if I don't have a million hours to put into it.
Yeah.
And good on them. It's kind of cool to see a game, so like a well-known franchise, but one that's been dormant for years, at least in mainline series releases. And technically an indie game winning. So it's developed by Larian and they self-publish. So I know people ripped into me on Twitter when I said something along the lines of that, of maybe they should change best indie game to best budget game, because that's what they mean. Because like Dave the Diver and whatever are not indie games. They have publishers, but they're not $60. So anyway, they're kind of ripping in, or price doesn't matter, those type of people.
Yeah. Well, your first mistake was that you're still on Twitter, and it's second, it's like best indie presenting game is what the category should be. Anyway, not the point.
This is not indie presenting, but it is by, if you consider an indie game an independent published game, that's what this is. So regardless of getting into those semantics, it's pretty cool that it's not from a mega publisher. It's not a Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft published game. It's not an EA, Activision, whatever. It's from a smallish developer who's self-published. So it kind of brings that back to, there's more scope to win a massive award than we'd maybe thought there was.
Yeah. You have in the notes, and like this isn't in the notes, like what I'm going to say next, but you had like big winners or big losers, and like I don't think anything was that surprising in terms of who won or who lost, and like, because they rattled off so many at a time, like it was also hard to process some of them.
Who knows?
I didn't realize until later that Spider-Man 2 had like 7 nominations and not a single win. So I guess if there's like big losers, air quotes, that's probably the one. And like, I love Spider-Man 2. Don't get me wrong. It won our best action adventure game on Stevivor's GOTY. Like, I'm not saying Spider-Man's a bad game. It just did not perform against the games it was up against at the Game Awards.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I only recently finished it. I think the way that the Game Awards are structured, so like they have best action adventure and best action as separate categories, but they don't have a best horror. They don't have a best like shooter. They don't. There's a bunch of categories which they probably should have, which they don't.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's like a lot of the games up against Zelda for action adventure. I wouldn't consider action adventure games. Like Resident
Yep.
Evil 4 was in there. That's a survival horror game.
Yeah.
But
And there were
that's the
so many,
closest
it
one it
needs its
fits
own
into.
category. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, and I think because you end up with all these games basically just constantly against each other, so like best narrative games and the Game of the Year award games, and probably the action adventure categories combined, were all the same games. And so theoretically, Baldur's Gate could pretty much won most of them with Alan Wake 2, which is what happened.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you're going to have these very similar categories with similar games up against them, does there need to be some type of clause that you can't win multiple? Because it's almost like if people just like Alan Wake 2 and they vote it for best action adventure, best narrative, and game of the year, they're not necessarily voting it for those different things. They're not saying, well, this is the best action adventure game and it had best game direction and the best narrative. Probably not. Like you just like the game overall. Therefore, it's your game of the year.
Yeah.
But it's people voting are probably not boiling down to these exact small qualities, and normally awards have very different categories like that to allow different things to win stuff. So whether it needs to be like a cap on how many things you can be nominated for, or some type of fudging that means that once you've won 2 you can't win anymore, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know how to do it to make it kind of legitimate and keep its integrity, but kind of felt that way with Zelda winning action adventure. Like it didn't win anything else. It was a great game. I'm glad it won that. I think out of the games in that category, it's the most action adventure game. But I don't think people voting would think about it like that. So I'm not entirely sure how that happened.
I don't think this is revealing the secret sauce, but like we get kind of like the blurb. I'm sure it's on the website too of like what the Game Awards considers that category, and basically the difference between action and action adventure is like one has puzzles. So like it's a weird set of categories. There's things like they have sports, which like we kind of like, since we've been on the jury for so long, we've kind of reappropriated most of these, so we don't have to do like 2 completely separate Game of the Year things. So we kind of mirror the award structure, but like there's not enough fighting games to have a fighting game category. Like you look at most of the contenders in that category, and you're like, what is that game? Like I get Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1, but like what are the rest of these? Like that should just be in sports, I think. And like that's solved. And then you have to go to action adventure. Like we need, like best shooter, best hack and slash or something. Like there's easier ways, I think, to do it. Survival horror is a really good one, especially of late. Last year, the Game Award announcements, we should have had like a best spooky space game, or was that the year before, like with Callisto Protocol and all those. Like it's like there needs to be a little bit more fluidity in how that all works out. Like it's not an easy thing to do though. I'm not envious of whoever has to decide how it works, but I don't think it's working.
No, and it probably speaks somewhat to things changing and the category is not changing. So for years they had best handheld game, which they've taken away because there's no more dedicated handhelds, and it was always just Nintendo winning. But it kind of made sense because like the best 3DS game was never going to win any award against console games, so it kind of needed its own category. But now that Nintendo don't call their platform a handheld, even though it is, that category can't exist. So it's kind of in that vein. We have so many RPGs now. You're almost better off having best JRPG and best all other RPGs. Like they're quite different. There are just so many.
We get so
right.
complicated though.
You're
like
right.
half that team though is it's Square Enix, and they've got half that team based in LA. So you can't call that a technical JRPG now. It's a Western RPG. Like it gets difficult. I get that, but the action adventure action thing is the weirdest, the most perplexing one of the lot. And Zelda deserved better. I think it's still getting like it. You gave it a 10 out of 10. You're right. You're like right. It's a great game, and I think people know that.
It deserved to win. Yeah.
It
deserved to win that category. Probably not Game of the Year for the same reason I don't think Spider-Man 2 should really have been in contention. Like they're just too similar sequels.
Really good though, but really good.
I mean, Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, again, sequels. This is the year of the sequel or the remake remaster or the RPG. Like, it's pretty light on everything else.
Yeah.
And yet, still an amazing year. So,
yeah,
you can only make do with what you've got. The other big category, which we kind of always end on, is most anticipated, and that's where I felt the most difference this year. So previous years we've always had like Tears of the Kingdom or Spider-Man 2 or Starfield or something big. This year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth won, which is probably what I would vote for. But that's the second part of a remake which has already been released. Like it's, yeah, like cool, I'm excited for that game, but it doesn't have most anticipated of the year feel about it. Like it's not a new game. It's not even a new remake. Like it's an add-on essentially to a remake we got 4 years ago. So
yeah,
it does make me feel that 2024 is a bit of a flat year, at least from what we know is coming.
Sequels, remakes, and nothing new, or like competent sequels like Spider-Man 2. Like it's amazing, and I anticipated it, but like you play it, and it's exactly what you expect, not in a bad way. Like Insomniac has that level of polish and gameplay that like is great, but yeah, like it's where's the cool new idea? Like I guess OD is probably my most anticipated from what we saw, because the rest of it's kind of well, yeah, it's not coming next year, but like everything else. And it's going to be Hideo Kojima, so it's going to be its own level of weird, and I'm probably going to hate most of it, but at least he's trying. Like, he's called this, like, his next new... What did he say about Death Stranding? Like, it's a new entire genre of game.
New genre, yeah.
Like, no, it wasn't made. It's just a walking simulator. He said the same stuff about OD. At least it's kind of like something new and theoretically inventive and unique, and there's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of that in TV or film or games, and that's kind of depressing.
And I worry it's going to get worse when you've got, we spoke a little bit about this a few weeks ago, the fact that you've got a Starfield which has been in development for a decade, and then it basically just gets destroyed by Baldur's Gate 3, made by a smaller team, which is a sequel in an existing IP, kind of bringing it back from the dead. It kind of makes you think, don't try a new IP. Like, that's Bethesda's first new IP in 25 years, and it's nowhere near as highly regarded as the two games they otherwise make. So why would they make a new IP again? They probably won't. The next 20 years are probably Elder Scrolls Fallout again. Like,
confirmed they're not. It's going to be what the next Elder Scrolls and the next Fallout. They've already said that. So, yeah. What a great downer to end on, Ben.
Still, these are all good games. Well, the downer was going to be E3's cancelled, but we already knew that. We've talked about it so many times. I was convinced they already announced that, but they've announced it again. So maybe they announced it was basically cancelled.
Well, they canceled 2023, and now they've canceled it entirely until like someone offers them money for the brand. Maybe even Keighley does, and it becomes the summer game fest. But there's like E3 and the like elite speaker. I don't know.
Don't bring it back. It's good memories. Like, it was a great time in its peak, or even when we were there the first few years. I think it was still probably around its peak at that point, when you still had to report on things, and there were live streams, but there wasn't really much from the show itself. And there was a chance to actually learn stuff and report on it and meet people and have a great time. And then it becoming a public show is what killed it ultimately. It died before COVID. It was on a path to dying before COVID. Yeah. It took away the mystery, and there were less publishers less interested in going because it was now a public show. It was like a PAX, so they didn't really want to be there with their big unannounced games. And it was just, it lost its vibe, and it lost the mystery for people who weren't there, and it lost the reason to be there for the people who were. So it kind of shot itself in the foot with that change.
And it sucks flying from Australia to LA and getting there at 6 in the morning and having to wait 8 hours to get your hotel room and be
not going to miss that.
And, like, I'm not going to miss that. It was exciting at the time, but then a couple in, I'm like, yeah, this is just a job again, and that's what we do. It's just a job. Or a hobby that sort of is a job. I sort of pay you, not much. Your boss sucks as well, by the way. But what are you gonna do?
That's a great place to end it. Let's leave there. We are going to be back. Happy Christmas to all. Before then, we won't see you before that big event happens. But we'll be back to recap 2023 in games, the things we played, the things that we missed talking about, the things that we couldn't talk about at the time because one of us foolishly hadn't played it. I think that's it. Until then, we'll see you one more time this year.
Yeah, it's Stevivor. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Okay. Now I open the thing.
If I could be bothered doing anything, that would be a blooper. But fuck it.
We don't do bloopers anymore. Who cares?
No, fuck it.
It's all a blooper.
Exactly. All right.